Hello, my name is Emily. I want to share my story of how I learned English. It was not easy, but it was full of emotions, tears, and small victories. When I was 10 years old, my family moved to New York. I didn't know any English. At school, I felt so lost. The teacher would talk, but it sounded like music I didn't understand. I wanted to cry every day. I felt alone. One day, I sat on the stairs at school and cried. A girl named Sarah came to me. She didn't speak my language, but she smiled and said, "Hi, that small word gave me hope." I thought, I want to learn English. I want to speak like Sarah. Tip 1: Start with small words. The first words I learned were hi, thank you, and please. They helped me feel confident. You don't need to know big words to start. At home, I started watching cartoons. I loved Tom and Jerry because there were no words, only funny actions. But then I tried watching cartoons with words. I would repeat what they said, even if I didn't understand. Tip 2: Repeat what you hear. Even if you don't understand, repeat it. Your brain will start to remember the sounds. At school, I was too shy to speak. I would sit quietly and listen. One day, my teacher asked me to read a sentence. My heart was racing. I stood up and I tried. I made so many mistakes, but my teacher smiled and said, "Good job, Emily. You tried." I cried that day, but they were happy tears. Tip 3: Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning. Every mistake is a step forward. I remember one night I was so frustrated. I was doing my homework, but I couldn't understand anything. I ran to my room, closed the door, and cried into my pillow. My mom came in, sat beside me, and said, "Emily, it's okay. Every day you get better." Her words comforted me, but I still felt the weight of my struggles. Tip 4: Surround yourself with positive people. My mom's support helped me stay strong. Find people who encourage you. Months passed, and I could understand more. I started reading simple books, like The Cat in the Hat. Each page felt like a small victory. I would read out loud, even to my cat. Tip 5: Read out loud. It helps you practice speaking and builds your confidence. There were times I wanted to quit, but every time I learned a new word, it felt like magic. English started to become my friend. I wrote small notes to myself, like "You can do this," and stuck them on my wall. Tip 6: Write daily notes. Writing helps your brain remember better. Even small notes help. One day, at school, my teacher gave us an assignment to write a story. I wrote about my journey learning English. When I read it to the class, everyone clapped. I couldn't believe it. From a girl who couldn't speak, I had become someone who could tell a story. Tip 7. Practice speaking in front of others. Even if it's scary, try speaking. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. English changed my life. It opened doors I never thought were possible. I made friends, understood movies, and started dreaming in English. It helped me communicate, share my feelings, and connect with others. Tip 8. Use English every day. Practice makes perfect. Speak, listen, read, and write a little every day. Now, when I look back, I smile. My journey with English was filled with tears, but those tears watered my growth. English isn't just a language for me. It's a friend, a guide, and a key to many doors. So, if you're learning English, don't give up. Remember my story. Remember that every small word, every mistake, every tear is part of your success. I remember the first time I had to speak English outside of school. It was at the grocery store. My mom asked me to ask the cashier for a bag. I stood there, my heart pounding. I wanted to run away, but I took a deep breath and said, "Can I have a bag, please?" The cashier smiled and handed me the bag. I felt so proud. It was just one sentence, but it felt like I had climbed a mountain. Tip 9. Start small conversations. Ask simple questions or make small requests. It builds your confidence bit by bit. Every night, I would talk to myself in English. It sounds silly, but it helped. I would look in the mirror and say things like, "Hello, how are you today?" Or "What did I do at school at first?" It felt strange, but over time it became easier. Tip 10. Talk to yourself. Talking to yourself in English helps you practice without fear of judgment. One time, I had to give a presentation in class. I practiced for days, repeating the words over and over. When the day came, my hands were shaking. As I spoke, I stumbled over a few words, but I didn't stop. When I finished, my classmates clapped, and my teacher said, "Well done, Emily." I couldn't believe it. I felt like crying, but this time they were tears of joy. Tip 11. Practice, practice, practice. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Don't give up, even when it's hard. As I learned more English, I began to see the world differently. I could watch movies without subtitles, understand song lyrics, and even help my mom with English at the store. One time, we were at a restaurant, and my mom couldn't read the menu. I felt so proud when I helped her order. It was a small moment, but it felt like I was becoming stronger. Tip 12. Help others with English. When you help someone else, it shows how much you've learned. It also helps you practice. There was a day I'll never forget. I was in the park, sitting on a bench, reading a book in English. A little girl came up to me and asked, "What are you reading?" I looked at her, surprised. Without thinking, I said, "It's a story about a girl who learns to be brave." The girl smiled and said, "That sounds nice." At that moment, I realized something. I was not scared anymore. English had become a part of me. Tip 13. Read stories in English. Reading helps you understand how the language works. Start with simple books and work your way up. Every day, I tried to learn something new. I would learn one new word and use it in a sentence. Some words were hard, like beautiful or butterfly, but every time I learned a new word, I felt like I was unlocking a new part of the world. Tip 14. Learn one new word a day. It doesn't have to be a big word. Just one new word a day will help you grow. There were moments when I felt so frustrated, though. One time, I was trying to understand a homework assignment, and I just couldn't get it. I felt so stupid. I cried and thought, why is English so hard for me? But then I remembered something my mom always said: the hardest roads lead to the most beautiful places. So I picked up my pencil and tried again. Tip 15. Don't give up, even when it's hard. Learning a language is like climbing a mountain. It's tough, but the view at the top is worth it. As I continued my journey, I started watching more movies in English. At first, I used subtitles, but over time, I didn't need them anymore. I could understand the jokes, the emotions, and the stories. It felt like I was part of a new world. Tip 16. Watch movies and shows in English. It's a fun way to learn new words and understand how people speak. One evening, I was sitting with my dad. He doesn't speak much English, but he looked at me and said, "I'm proud of you, Emily." I asked him why, and he said, "Because you never gave up that night." I felt like I had made him proud, not just by learning English, but by showing him that I could face challenges. Tip 17. Remember why you started. There will be hard days, but always remember why you wanted to learn English. It will give you strength. There was also a time when I helped a friend who was learning English. She was struggling, just like I had. I sat with her and shared my story, telling her not to worry about mistakes. We practiced together, laughing at the funny words we said. Helping her reminded me of my own journey and how far I had come. Tip 18. Teach someone else. When you teach, you learn even more. It's a great way to strengthen your skills. As I look back, I realize that English has opened so many doors for me. I've made new friends, watched incredible movies, and even helped others. But most of all, English has taught me patience, courage, and the power of small steps. Tip 19. Celebrate every small win. Whether it's learning a new word or having a short conversation, celebrate it. Each step matters. I know my journey isn't over. There are still more words to learn, more books to read, and more conversations to have. But I'm excited about the future. English is no longer something I fear. It's something I love. Beautiful thought. Every word you learn is a seed, and every sentence you speak is a flower blooming in the garden of your life. What has been your biggest challenge in learning English?